Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. So nice to be here and to take the stage and share my story. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who judges the hardest of them all? I'm here today to take you on a journey of my self-discovery. In our life, we have different experiences, the good ones and the bad ones. But we often want to forget the bad experiences. But we shouldn't. We should embrace them and add them to our life story. Because if we don't, we can block our growth and creativity. Imagine a little girl standing in front of a mirror. She doesn't see her reflection, but she sees her doubts, her fears, and the voices in her head are on repeat. You are not good enough. You don't matter. You don't count. That little girl was me. I was raised in a difficult environment with a single mother who worked very hard to provide for us. But alcoholism was unfortunately a part of our daily life and routine. When I was 16 years old, my mother passed. And you can imagine that it left a huge emptiness and a hole inside of me. When I look back at this little girl, and statistics will tell you this, she seemed often forgotten and left out in our today's society, just because of her background. But today, I stand here with you. Those experiences didn't shape me. They didn't break me. They gave me my strength and my resilience. You see, I took all of those experiences from that little girl and I told the world, this is not my life, because I have a choice. I have a choice to create my own life. But it was hard to get to that place in life. And when I finally got to that place in life, I started building on myself. I started creating a business, I grew my family, and I worked very hard, just to prove everybody that I wasn't that broken little girl. My name is Lã Mannaert. I'm a serial entrepreneur, a transformational coach, and someone who spent decades believing that my imperfections were my greatest weakness. Until one day, I didn't. Until one day, I discovered they were actually my greatest gift. They were actually my superpower. Today, I want to teach you my methodology, the power of imperfection. And by the time that we leave this room, you will never look at leadership the same way again. Because you are going to understand that how important it is to embrace every part of you. So, be brave with me here. By a show of hands, whoever has stand in front of a mirror and doubted himself. Thank you so much for sharing that. Please keep your hands up if you ever believe that voice. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that. That's bravery, that's courage. You see, if you ever thought that that voice was telling you the truth, I'm going to tell you that it's the biggest lie. Because that voice that you are hearing isn't actually something that is holding you back. It's something that is waking you up from the inside. But because we are taught differently from the moment that we are born in this world, that perfection has to look a certain type of way, we forget. And when we hear those voices and when we see those doubts, we start comparing them with something that is not really you. I want to tell you something. That voice, that biggest voice, is just standing between you and your biggest breakthrough. Because I want to share you something. And I want to tell you something, not just to impress you or whatever, but just to show you that what happened and what can happen with you if you accept that voice. I have built and sold companies across continents. I've spoken at Cambridge University, the Westminster Palace. I've been recognized with international awards for social impact. I mentor entrepreneurs. I invest in startups, in real estate. And my coaches reaches leaders in over 50 countries. And I'm just smiling saying that here, because I still remember where I came from and where I am today. You see, we are so often taught to fear failure, to run from it, to see it as the signal, to give up. But the truth is, failure is essential for our growth. Each time something didn't go as planned, each time I stumbled or I needed to adjust, that lesson was richer than anything that I could ever have learned from success alone. Failing isn't, the thing that's holding you back. Failure is actually where creativity is born. It's where courage is tested. And as I reinvented myself, I came to see failure not as something to hide from, but as an invitation to grow deeper, to get smarter, and to live more honestly. When I decided to start my fashion brand, Lã Mert, I knew exactly the direction I wanted to go. I wanted to create something raw, beautiful, real, not just something for the mainstream. And because we did that, and because of my honesty and my courage to be vulnerable, but don't compare vulnerable with being lazy, not doing enough, of playing the victim. Vulnerability is just to share your honest truth. And as a leader, that is so important. And because I did that, my brand was worn by celebrities all over the world. I was even presented on the Ellen Show in the United States, one of the biggest daytime shows. Because why? Because we connected with consumers, with customers on a human level. So you see, failure is necessary. And I know from the moment that you are born, actually from the moment that you start going to school, you are getting grades. Are you an A student? Are you a C student, a D, an E, whatever? But that's the flaw. That's the flaw in our society. If you are strong enough, if you have strong parents, if you have the courage, that doesn't need to matter. But for most of us, we don't. So when you go to school, and when you start to get this grading, and when you start to compare yourself with other people, there is where you lose your strength, your creativity, your superpower, your unique DNA. You see, what I've learned again and again with everything that I've done, and I failed a lot, but that's okay, because I start loving to fail. I rewired my brain to not see failure as a challenge, but to something to love, and that's something that is a part of our life. We don't live in Disneyland. Our life isn't made to be happy and wonderful every day. No, it's there in those wounds, in those parts, That is our unique story. That is our unique DNA. That is the part that nobody can take away from you. So there are no comparisons in life if you see it that way, because you are unique. And I don't want you to forget that. And when I stopped hiding my story, when I started sharing it, everything changed. The work I did became mine. Why? Because nobody else has my story. That's why people connected with it on a human level. And at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, an author, whatever you are, you don't just want followers. You want real consumers. And how do you get real consumers? By connecting. You can have this polished idea of yourself, but people don't connect with that. And sometimes you have to be brave to do that. You see, that scared little girl, she became my greatest teacher. Her pain became my purpose. Her survival became my strength. I'm not saying that the impact of my past wasn't huge. It was. But I also knew at one point in my life that I had the choice, that it was my life, and I can create it the way that I wanted. And I did that. And that's the only reason that I'm standing here today. Because during my mentoring, during my coaches, I come across so many people, and especially that part that is painful for me, young adults, they don't believe in themselves because they are only comparing themselves with other people. They say, I'm not there yet, my company's not doing well yet. Only comparing instead of understanding that everything you want, everything that you dream of, everything that you want to become is inside of you. So do you dare to tune inside of yourself? Do you dare to look in the mirror and not only see your perfections, but your imperfections? So with determination, I built my career, my businesses, I grew my family. And I thought that that was the life that I want, but I forgot something. Because when all of that was going, I was actually struggling from the inside. Can somebody tell me why? Because I never acknowledged that little girl. You see, you can wear a mask and you can pretend to be a leader, to be a business owner, and you can succeed in that because that is a kind of fuel that you need, you know, that adversity that I'm going to show the world I can do it all. And it will bring you to a point of life, but it never will bring you happiness. But most important, it never will bring you connection. And if you're somebody that is creating a team, you need a connection, because only with connection you can build a team. And people often forget that, and especially for the Gen Z and the new generations that are coming, they need something else from their leaders. So there came a point in my life that I couldn't pretend anymore. And I made a brave choice to tell my story. And by doing that, it was like a spell. Something shifted. And I realized that real change begins with acceptance. Acceptance of who I am. Acceptance of every part of my past with all my imperfections. That is where the magic begins. Because acceptance opens the door to growth, to real connection, and most of all, to clarity. And what do we need as leaders, as owners, just as human? Clarity. But if you don't accept where you are in life, if you don't accept where your businesses are in life, if you don't see the brokenness and you only want to see the perfection, you will never get clarity. When we embrace our authentic selves, imperfections and all, different parts of our brain start to light up. And this is not just a motivational story. This is neuroscience. Often, you know, when I'm coaching people, they will ask me, well, but I see your life and you are coaching and, you know, I see you traveling the world and doing all of this. And then with your background, how did you do that? I say the first thing was accepting that I was not perfect, and that's okay. I don't need to be perfect. And when I accepted that I wasn't perfect, I started to see different things differently. I started challenging myself. I started working on myself. You know, vulnerability again doesn't mean, and authenticity doesn't mean that you just have to sit there and share a story and don't do anything. No, it gives you clarity to grow. It gives you freedom. because you break the spell that you are not enough. And that freedom means that you are here. We are born to create everything that we see in beautiful Porto. How beautiful is this city? Why is this city beautiful? Because of its story. Because of those blue tiles. When you see the blue tile, do you see the small cracks in it? And everybody's taking pictures of those cracks? Why is nobody saying, well, those tiles are ugly, those cracks doesn't belong? No, because it's authentic. And we have to start seeing ourselves as authentic being. And when you do that, you start to create, you start to flow. And you get a different form of freedom, you know? When somebody tells me, I'm a mother of 3 boys, I invest in real estate, in startups, I do everything. Why? Because for me, there are no limitations. Because I'm allowed to fail. And I love to fail. Because when you are failing, why are you failing? Because you are doing something new. And how wonderful is that? So why is that holding you back? Are you just here to be just one type of person, to have just one type of a belief system? Or are you here to explore everything that this beautiful world has to offer? So why are you limiting yourself with those beliefs? And I always say with those BS. But you know what BS is? Belief system. Something that was printed in you from the moment that you were born, through your family, your friends, your community, school. But is it really yours? Think about that. Is it really yours? So I want to do something, a formula that I have created, and that is me, we, and you. So I'm going to go first, me. There was a time that I lost everything. I almost lost my marriage, my businesses. I was disconnected from my own children. We often think that we are not good enough, that we are not worthy, that we cannot lead, that there's always somebody better than us. You. So now it's your turn. If you're sitting next to somebody or not, I want you to go talk to the person next to you. I will give you each 60 seconds. I want to do with you the formula, the power connection. And with this, I want you to share to the person next to you something that you've been going through, something that you're maybe hiding or afraid. I will give everybody 60 seconds to share your story with each other. No, that's okay. So almost when I'm finished, can you really film me the last part? Because I'm going to say a few things that I want to have on film.
Okay.
Yeah? Thank you.
But you talk to sign with me.
Okay, I will do it. Yeah. So thank you so much. Please come back to me. Please come back to me. Thank you so much for participating. I really, really appreciate this. I really do. So if you can come back to me, that will be amazing because my time is almost up. Exactly, that's why. So now I want you to tell me, raise your hand if sharing your imperfect moment made you feel more connected to the other person next to you. Thank you so much for doing that. You see, Well, that is the power of connection in action. And that is actually something that you can do with your teams. Maybe even at home with your family when you are feeling disconnected. You know, vulnerability breaks everything. And again, vulnerability is not weakness. It's true courage in action. And when you do that, your brains light up. You get answers, you know? Where before you felt like you were stuck, now you are getting answers and you are seeing things clear. So I have 4 pillars of imperfect, and I want to give you the methodology of my 4 pillars. Because at the end of the day, every leader wants to inspire the team to be creative. And creativity only grows when you allow your team members to make mistakes. Otherwise, it won't happen. Otherwise, they will keep being stuck. So number 1, vulnerable strength. The courage to say, I don't have all the answers, but I'm committed to finding them with you. You see, when you open up that way, you allow your team to be creative and to think, and also to have the courage and the strength to do so without being judged. Number 2, curious courage. Imperfect leaders don't pretend to know everything. They ask better questions. So, instead of, here's the answer, they say, help me understand. You see how vulnerable it is when you tell a team member, well, help me understand your vision or your thoughts or your idea. Help me understand. Help me understand to grow. We are all here to grow. Number 3, progress over perfection. Who here has ever had an idea, but you never spoke about it? You always keep it in your mind. You always say, well, maybe next year, next week, 2 years. Whoever has done that before, please, by show of hands. Okay, so here's the truth. And it's a beautiful truth. Your 80% idea is better than your 100% idea still in your head. Why? Even if you have the smallest insight, remember, it's yours. It's your idea. It's not there. It's there for a reason. So when you get the courage just to start with it, the time, and this is also scientifically proved, that you have 65% more chance to succeed if you just take the first step of doing it. So number 4, authentic action. Lead from your own story, not from somebody else's playbook. We love to do that. We love to compare. We love to take ideas from other people. You can do that, of course. We all need inspiration, but remember, your uniqueness is your uniqueness. So make decisions aligned with your values, even when it feels uncomfortable. Show up as yourself, even when you are having a bad day. Because people don't follow perfect leaders. They follow authentic one, the one that they can connect with. You see, in my role as a mentor, I discovered something so profound. Clients don't connect with me through perfect words or flawless advice. They connect with me through energy and presence. When you are living your truth, when you show up as your authentic self, connection happens almost effortlessly. You see, there's a realness that people can feel, even without words being spoken. Remember that. Your businesses, your leadership, it's so much easier to connect on a human level than to connect with somebody that is wearing a mask. And I was that person wearing a mask. And then I will always come back home and like, why doesn't that person like me? You know, finger blaming other people, not looking at myself. So try to take off that mask and perform and start, you know. Don't perform, that's also a thing. We like to perform because we think that's the way that we should do. But performing is not living authentically. So I have one more thing before I want to close. You know, at my home and in my businesses, especially at home, I have 3 boys. My husband is here with me today. We are married for 29 years. Good and bad, like every connection, like every relationship. But he's here today supporting me. When I started sharing, I was always so afraid to share my past, but our family has grown so much after that. You know, I saw my sons blossom up in a way I didn't even think that it was possible for them. Just because we dare to be vulnerable and honest, even with your children. Every breakthrough in my textile business, my fashion brand, my real estate investment, speaking on stages today here, being here with you beautiful people, it didn't came from being perfect. It came from being imperfect. By putting the first step, even if I was afraid, even if I didn't know my keynote, by just being me. And that's again the only way to grow. And I know I'm like rehashing that because it's so important and it's so easy to forget, especially when you are stuck in your business. Like, okay, what is the next step that I need to take? Who's going to help me? Why am I not getting clients? Why is this business doing well and I'm not? You know, again, the why and why. But look at me. You know, always point it back at yourself and try to figure out why it is happening, because you already have all the answers in you. And radical self-honesty is so important. And you have to ask yourself, where are you pretending instead of performing? Again, reframe your story. What is the thing that you are hiding maybe? Maybe even for your team members or for your family. Again, when you say it, it's like a spell. You break it and lead with your learning. Don't just share what you have mastered. You know, again, all the diplomas, the MBAs, the doctorals, beautiful. But share your really learnings on human level, because we often forget to share that too, especially with the next generation. So, I have one more thing here, beautiful Porto today, for you to remember. That everything that you went through, every struggle, every time you fell and you went back up, it was just preparing you. It was not breaking you. And it was preparing you for your biggest breakthrough. Thank you so much, beautifulness. Thank you.